I want to tell you a story, but it is not just a story from an ancient book. It is our story, the story of a promise I made, a relationship I designed, and a heart that was broken so it could be restored forever. This is the story of you and of me. Look into your own heart. Feel that distance, that question that echoes in the quiet moments. Something stands between us. And to understand how to bridge that gap, you must first understand how things were meant to be. You must see the relationship I designed for you from the very beginning. Before the silence, before the separation, there was my design. And it was perfect. It was never about a list of rules from a distant God. No, it was about closeness. It was about walking together, creating together, a direct communion between your heart and mine. Think of the man Dazalio. I filled him with my own spirit, gave him wisdom, understanding, and skill to create beautiful things for my dwelling place. He wasn't just a craftsman, he was a picture of my original intent for you. A creative partner, shaping the world with me, filled with my very breath. And I gave them a gift, a rhythm for life called the Sabbath. This is never meant to be a burden. It was a sign of our covenant, a sacred pause to remind you that you belong to me, a perpetual space for you to cease your striding and simply rest in my presence. And when I gave them my law, it was not an impersonal decree. I carved it myself. These were not just words on stone. They were words from my heart, written with my own finger. It was a personal invitation into the very framework of life itself. But even as I was carving this invitation of love on the mountain, a choice was being made below, a choice born of fear, a choice to turn away from me and embrace a comfortable golden lie. My presence felt distant to them. Their patience wore thin, and in their fear, they forgot my power. They forgot my deliverance, and they demanded a substitute. They cried out for a God they could see, a God they could control. And so they did the unthinkable. They gathered their treasures and forged an idol, a lifeless calf of gold. They exchanged the glory of the invisible, living God for a man-made thing. They traded the infinite for the finite. It was the great betrayal, a pattern that the human heart repeats to this very day. And the cost was devastating. Rebellion against life itself can only lead to death. The covenant was broken, and on that day, 3,000 fell. It was the tragic, unavoidable consequence of turning away from the source of all life. Look at this choice. On one side, my personal, eternal promise that leads to life. On the other, an empty idol, fashioned by human hands, which leads only to death and shame. At this moment, our perfect relationship was shattered. Justice demanded a response. The broken promise required a reckoning, and in that moment of judgment, my heart of mercy set in motion a plan. A foreshadowing of the ultimate rescue appeared in the form of a mediator. Moses stood in the gap. He did not argue that the people were innocent. He knew they were guilty. Instead, he appealed to who I am. He called on my character. He reminded me of my own promises, my own unchanging nature. He stood between my justice and their sin. And then he made an astonishing plea. Forgive them, he said. And if not, punish me instead. Erased my name from your book. Do you hear it? In his selfless cry, you can hear a whisper of the cross, a stunning glimpse of the sacrifice my own son Jesus would one day make for you. I heard his plea, but my response was not a simple pardon. It was a revelation. To restore our relationship, I had to show him who I truly am. I had to reveal my very heart. This is my name. This is who I am. I am merciful and gracious. I am full of unfailing love and faithfulness. I forgive sin, but I am also just, and I will not leave the guilty unpunished. Both are true, both are me, and it is upon this bedrock of my character that our relationship can be rebuilt. So based on who I am, not on what they had done, I renewed the covenant. I restored my promise, not because they earned it, but because my nature is to be merciful. The relationship was restored by my grace alone. Now, do you see this ancient drama of broken stone and a golden idol? It was never just about them. This entire story has always been about you. The first stone tablets were broken for a reason. They revealed a universal truth. No external law, No rule written on stone can ever truly change this human heart. You cannot do it on your own. You needed a better promise. You needed a new covenant. That first covenant was only ever a shadow pointing to the real thing. It was a promise of the unbreakable covenant I always intended to make with you, one not sealed on stone, but sealed forever by the perfect blood of my Son, Jesus, the true mediator. When Moses was in my presence, his face shone with a reflected glory that faded away, but that was only a glimpse. The glory I offer you now, through my Holy Spirit, isn't a temporary reflection on your skin. It is a permanent, transforming fire I will light within your very soul. From the garden to the mountain to the cross, this entire story has been my relentless move toward you. I stepped into the silence. I provided the sacrifice. I paid the price for the broken covenant with the life of my own son. I have made my move, and now the only question that matters echoes across eternity. What will be yours?